Hey there. Okay, here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ukulele on the Ground podcast. My name is Aldrine Guerrero. Joining me are Mr. Aaron, the voice, Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron?
What's up?
And Mr. Kahai, the legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai?
What's up?
I thought I was going to cut to you, too. Cut to Aaron, and I thought I was going to cut to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am still at my house. I am under the weather. I finally got affected by the plague. After I was bragging about like not having it like this entire time for the past like 2 months. I don't know, was it like last episode or the episode before that? I was bragging about like, man, everyone in my house has been sick. I got like the flu shots. I'm okay and whatever. So not the flu, but got a sinus infection, and it's making its way down. Not to be gross or anything like that, but it's making its way down, and now it's like in my throat, and I'm coughing. If I wasn't coughing, I'd I'd go to the office and I do the podcast, but I don't want to like infect the other two guys in the in the small room that we're in. So I am here safe at home, and
As
you don't want me doing the podcast with a mask on, you know.
as we say in Japanese, that is called bachi. You brag about how I'm healthy. I'm going good. Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the live coaching, and I like every 5 minutes or something. So I took cough medicine as soon as that was done. So it kicked in, and I think I'm okay. But yeah, it's like it's making its way down, so it's like tickling my throat, and it's just making me cough like crazy. But it's just that. But it is still like an infection, and I am infectious. Is that's the word, right? I mean, I am infectious, so yeah, I don't want it to spread. But I am on the mend. I think I'm okay. I was debating going to see a doctor today if I didn't feel any better by today, but I think because it's moving, I'm just gonna ride it out. Just gonna ride it out, Kai. You know what I mean? Like I'm tough like that. I'm like tough like Teflon.
I'll say it again. Bachi.
Don't say that.
That's yeah. Okay.
I just said it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna cough. Oh, okay.
You're a mute.
Anyway, what we do. Excuse me. Oh my God. Okay, so in this show, we answer any and all of your ukulele questions, whatever they may be. You can ask them in the live chat. You can ask them via email, whatever. If you have our phone number, you can text us your question or what. But don't though. Like it's kind of rude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kinda rude.
There are people in our chat who actually do have my phone number. And I
Oh
love you
no,
guys, but do
I was
not
saying
text
that.
me.
I was saying, don't text me, but I'm pretty sure they can text you, right? Like.
Guys, don't text me. Don't
Oh,
text
we have a voicemail number that they can use, right?
Oh, okay. I thought we have like a voicemail like to answer today. I was like, oh
No.
snap!
Yeah. You
Shout out
can-
to the to Honolulu Zoo for my beautiful beautiful big cup of water here. Honolulu Zoo for the win. But yeah, so we answer any of all of your questions. Kahai will gather them up. He's gonna let me know what the question is. I'll try to give you my best 2 cents, and the other guys will chime in with their 2 cents. We'll give you the best 6 cent answer or best 6 cent opinion that we possibly can give you. So here's to giving you some good ones. Okay, so that's how this show works. So Kahai, with that said, what do you want to talk about today?
We got a couple questions already, so I figured let's
right on.
go through them.
Right now.
So the first question, and they're kind of, I also figured they're kind of related, so I wanted to do them back to back.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one is from Carl, and he said, I was just watching a YouTube video titled 7 Biggest Aha Moments You'll Have Learning Guitar, and wondered if this concept might be something to consider for a portion of a podcast. While the video was obviously about guitar rather than ukulele, it really focused on aspects of playing related to music theory that people who are successful in progressing in their guitar playing eventually realize or recognize, essentially breakthrough moments that accelerate their progress. Maybe not all aha moments need the music theory related though I suspect there would be some overlap with the guitar video, but I've long wondered whether there was pivotal moments, breakthroughs in Aldrine's musical development, or yours, or Aaron's, or Mike's, that open up possibilities and or new horizons for learning ukulele. So
Okay. So definitely there's definitely like lots of aha moments. Especially like when I was, when I was starting out and I was just kind of connect the dots. And anytime like the dots have been connected, like that's when you have aha moments. So like it's gonna be different for everybody. But if I could share with you some of the aha moments that I've had. So I'm gonna try to like rewind back as early as possible. But one of the first aha moments, that I had on my ukulele was kind of noticing that like a lot of chords like was just the same in like in every key that I played. Like there was definitely if you're playing it a lot in G, if you're playing a lot in C, a lot of chords tend to just like show up all the time. So when I was learning how to play ukulele, I'm like, okay, well, if it starts and this is like pre like music theory kind of stuff, before I learned all that. So that I learned music theory in high school, which gotta be like ninth, 10th grade is when I really learned how to do some music theory. So prior to that, I was still playing ukulele, and I'm trying to connect the dots. So I remember thinking, when I was in in a certain key, like say I was, if the first chord, so that's how I did it. Like if the first chord was C, for example, then I'm like, okay, well, the next chords are either F or G7, or it's gonna be A minor, E minor, or D minor. Like those are gonna be like the next chords are gonna be one of those. I don't know why, but for some reason those chords are always together. It's like an aha moment. Another aha moment that was pretty similar was when I learned that that you can detune an ukulele. So like once again, like really like early on when I didn't know how to do music theory, like prior to me like being a sophomore in high school, I would still play like with a lot of records and stuff and try to figure out the record. And then I remember somebody told me that like, oh, you gotta tune it like this, like and that should, you can play it like that. Because I remember somebody, and specifically it was a song "You Don't Write" by the Kyle Creative Voice, and that album Valley Style, the entire album was tuned half step down. Okay, and I learned the song "You Don't Write," but I'm just like, is somebody pranking me? Like, is this like, are these the chords? Like, they said it was G, B minor, and C, and we played it at like, when we went to camp or whatever. Like, we would go camp out at like Kokee, and I remember like my classmates at school, they're just like, they're like playing Kokee. No, not Kokee, but they're playing "You Don't Write." Yeah, they're playing "You Don't Write," and then they're singing it, and those are the chords that they were using. I'm like, no, we definitely played that song, and these were definitely the chords that we were playing to that song. Why is it that when I play it with the album, it just doesn't sound right, like at all? And then I remember asking said friend like Troy. I'm gonna give some props. Troy Lagazzo, so Troy Lagazzo. He's playing the tune, and then I asked him like, back when I went back to school, I'm like, hey, like what are the chords like to that song? Because I tried playing with the record, and it just doesn't like, doesn't sound right. It's like, oh, you have to tune your ukulele to this. Like then he would play the second fret, so like this one you got to tune to that, and then like tune everything else like how you normally would. I'm like, huh. So I remember going home and trying it, and then playing "You Don't Write" after, familiar with the chords that I knew, and I'm like, this is game changing. And so, like that was, I feel like the first. I think that was the first like big aha moment that I had, because that unlocked the entire album for me. So it wasn't even just that, and because that was like, so I must have been fifth grade. So that was the cocaine trip, maybe fourth or fifth grade or something like that, and the album Valley Style like and On Fire like were relatively new. I think On Fire just came out not that long, like maybe a year or two before that, and because that was like the albums that everybody was playing on their ukuleles, and once like I unlocked, or I had the keys to like to play with the record, that opened up everything else, like for me. And I think that other aha moment that I mentioned earlier, where like, okay, well, I know like the next chord is going to be this, I could really only do that once the half step down was unlocked for me, like to play with the record. So that was a big one. Another one is is when I started going to started playing like clarinet and saxophone for band already, and then like an aha moment for me was taking my clarinet music, and I'm just like, okay, well, a G is a G is a G. Like if this thing says like C C G G A A G G or whatever, like the notes on my music, I'm like, I got C here, I got G here, I got A here. Like I can play those notes on my ukulele. So I would take my music and just play like my clarinet lines on my ukulele. Like it wasn't necessarily like a strumming thing, because you can't play multiple notes on the clarinet, but um I would play it, and then I would just be playing all these like all these songs that we play for wind ensemble. I would play songs that we played for like for jazz and stuff. So I was playing a lot of those tunes, really like Killer Joe. Like I was playing, it's just some easy jazz kind of standard. I remember playing like Blues Machine and stuff like that a middle school band like would play. But I was playing it on my ukulele, and I was like kind of showing my friends like, check this out. Uh, how do you play? Like playing that lick, and I'm just like, oh, that's pretty cool that I can do that like on my ukulele. And I remember, because being a clarinet player, I was like into Benny Goodman, a lot. And when he played a lot of his stuff, he played very expressively. So I'm like, hey, let's try to express yourself with the ukulele. And then like, with that, like a lot of like techniques started to kind of happen. Uh, like it just being really like expressive with it. And another one was I remember I first started doing that, and then we had one of like the jazz or blues legends, Gabe Balthazar. He's a saxophone player. He visited our school, and he did like this after school workshop with the students, and I had my clarinet, and oh no, I had my saxophone, but I also had my ukulele, and I was just like, you know what, let me just try this out. And then he pointed like at we're doing solos and improv and stuff, and then he pointed at me, he's like, oh, let me hear something. And then I started like kind of playing, and he's just like, oh, okay, well, here, follow, like, follow, because I didn't know like what to do. Well, he's just like, okay, well, here, follow me, like play this note on your ukulele. And then like we started doing like kind of one note solos, and I was just like copying what he was doing, and just following him. He's like, okay, now like try to like take these two or three notes and like and make up your own. And for me, that was the beginning of improv. Like I didn't know that you didn't need to use like a million notes to do improv on your instrument. So like that kind of opened up so much, like so much doors for me playing my ukulele and doing like improv to it, because I started with one note, then two notes, then three notes, and that's how I still teach it to this day, like how to improvise. Like, well, just kind of follow me, let's just start with one note and start with two notes, three notes, because that was like was an aha moment that like, hey, I don't need to play like a million and one notes because when I was watching other people do the thing, I like guys like Carlos Santana, like Steve Vai, and whatever, like all these amazing guitarists, and even like Jake at that point. Whenever they do solos, it was these like pretty intricate solos, but it was Gabe Baltazar that kind of showed me that like, no, just start with one, like here, like, and he fed me the notes, he's just like, oh, play the B flat on your on your ukulele, and then like I'll play my note, and then just kind of like follow me, and then now like kind of start doing your own, but just with that one note, and it was insane. So that was a big aha moment, following the like, hey, I can do these notes on my ukulele, but like that just really opened up all the doors. And from then on, like, I remember going, like, riding the bus with my friend Aaron Suarez, who also played ukulele, and we would, I knew like the picking to say Kavika. I knew the picking to that, but since Kavika was just like two chords, like over and over, I told Aaron like, hey, you just keep strumming. Let me try something, and I would just experiment with with all sorts of all sorts of like lines and improv and stuff, and I ventured out. I tried like different notes, but it starts out with that one two notes that in that key. So that really opened it up for me. I'm sure there are others, but I feel like those were some of the biggest, because like they made such big improvements to my overall playing. Just knowing the key, knowing like playing with albums, knowing how to tune my ukulele to the album, and learning how to simplify and make improvisation a lot less intimidating. So like that really opened it up for me as far as learning how to play ukulele. What about you guys?
Yeah. Do you have aha moments, Aaron, that you wanna? Because my aha moment is actually related to our next question too. So,
Oh, yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
yeah.
We were talking about this earlier, so.
So I guess I also wanted to bring up though that I kind of like what you said about like learning chords, like learning keys, and learning that it's like, oh, this chord, I play these chords all the time, so they must be like together,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's like not really knowing that, it's like, oh, this is a chord family, or like
or this is the key of the song.
this makes sense because it's in this chord family or stuff like that. And I think, did you learn that too, Aaron? Like learn that way, like learn chords that just happen to go
Yeah.
together before you learning about keys or
Yeah,
chord
because you're
families?
just like, when you're starting off, you're just learning songs, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this song starts with G, and then it also has a C chord in it. So like other
Yeah.
songs that start with G usually have a C chord in it too. So it's like, oh yeah, like you can group it in your head at least.
And
Yeah.
like, especially if you're playing with a type of like, you're playing with the recording of a certain artist, right? Is like, they'll probably stick to the same key, or they'll use very similar chords no matter what
Yeah.
songs you're playing. So
Yeah.
you can identify it that way. But I think it is like where you learn that first, and then like later on when you learn that there's such a thing as chord family, it kind of just cements it in place. Like, oh yeah, I already kind of knew that, but this just gives me the reason why that all this time I've been playing these chords together, and now it's like, okay, this makes sense now. It like puts it in place, right? So my thing though that was like chords and like chord shapes. Somebody, I think Chris and Sue said movable chords too. So that was also a part of it too for me. And the question that kind of relates to that was Yvette wrote this question in the forum like last week. So she said, I believe it was Brian Tolentino who said, when you buy an ukulele, you purchase all the frets, not just the first 5. With that in mind, how do you explore different chord positions across the fretboard? For example, I typically play the C chord on the first string, 3rd fret. How can I find alternative positions for the same chord higher up the neck? And yeah, I think for me, that aha moment was like, just not even knowing that there's inversions or movable chords or what they're called, right? Is just doing like playing chords and then being like, oh, if I actually move this up 1 fret, I can make another chord that's a part of another song, and I can play this chord instead of like that old chord shape that I used to play, and it sounds a little bit different. And then Aaron also brought up like you kind of learned this, and it's like, oh, like these chords actually match better with the song because they're like higher than the chord that I was playing before, right?
Yeah.
Like if you play like a C that it's using the B flat chord shape instead of like the
Yeah.
open C.
High C.
Yeah, high C.
I see. Yeah, I
Yeah,
see.
because you learn the regular C chord, which is your ring finger on the A string, third fret, and then you learn the high C, which is a B flat chord shape but shifted up two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes the song just calls for high C. And
Is
it's
it-
like you know that it's called a C chord,
Yeah.
but like if you play the first one just like the standard C, like it doesn't sound correct.
Or is like if you ever play a song that uses that high C to like a D, right? Because you're playing in the key of G.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
goes
they-
C and then you shift it up to the D.
Yeah, like you do that slide up.
Yeah.
It's like if you try and do just an open C to like the regular D chord that
Yeah.
you would hold, it's not going to sound like that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it kind of works, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But just realizing like, oh, you can move any chord. And as long as like you can bar a chord or you can mute the string that you're not playing, it's like any chord can be played at any place.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
realizing
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, chords, I don't know. It might sound weird, but it's almost like chords don't matter. Chord names don't matter because you can just do
The shapes are
the shapes.
Yeah.
I think the shapes come first. Like in my head, I don't think about chord names at all actually.
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm thinking about shapes. So even like before we start playing a song, like in my head, I'm thinking about where the shapes go just to remind
Yeah.
myself. And then once we start, I'm pretty good to go.
It's like that G, like if you play a C chord but using the G chord shape, to me that feels more like a G chord. Like I'm holding a G chord and I know exactly where in songs that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think of it as like this is a C chord. It's just like I'm just playing it up here, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just like that shape up here. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the original question?
How do you, and I guess what I was talking to Aaron about is like, how do you remember like first encountering, because I learned about movable chord shapes, inversions, all of that stuff before I even knew what inversions were, or like the fact that you're like shifting around the note names.
Yeah.
But like can you remember like maybe the first time you encountered like that idea too, like movable chord shapes or inversions, and what it was like used for, or like what you used it for?
Yeah. That came kind of like later on. I mean later on in high school, not like later on in like later on in life or anything, but I was already kind of like like playing a lot of like high level instrumental stuff. I remember I played like Europa and body surfing and things like that. And I remember it was Mark Baldonado that kind of like sparked the the idea in my head. In Europa, he does this solo that I still do to this day. I actually like it's almost like an homage to that day, and that's why I've never taken it out. It's and it's 1000% like Mark Baldonado like solo, and but it's so like important to me because that was the aha moment. So in Europa, like so he does this. He does that, and then I remember seeing it, seeing that like that solo for the first time. I'm like, that is so cool how he's just like strumming like up there and stuff. But really, it's just him like playing those, like playing those inversions. So seeing like those chords and stuff, because I knew like notes and stuff, but I wasn't like playing chords like up up there. And then when we kind of like when we broke it down, and I was like, okay, well. So he was, he's playing that like that D minor, and then it went, and then G minor with the, with that A, but it's still G. So I'm gonna show you guys my dots here on the top. So like on the 10th fret. So first it was on the 5th fret. This is the 10th fret. I guessed because I knew that like it ended in D minor. So that part must be D minor because he's playing it like in D minor. And then I remember him kind of showing me that like, oh, this he knew. He like, I don't know if he's, you know, he knew music theory at that point, but he just knew that like, okay, well, this is, you know, like this is also D minor and that's G minor up here and this is another G minor there. But for me, like, it didn't make sense until like I had to explain it to myself music theory wise, like why that makes sense, you know? So I remember looking at the notes, looking at the notes that like that kind of makes up G minor, or D minor in this case, D minor. So I'm like, okay, well, what is this and what is this? And then I think the aha moment was just like, those are the same notes, like this one and that, like the same exact notes, because it's just like that A D F A, and this was basically D A and F. You know, this being C it blew my mind. I was like, that's the only, you know, these three. And then when I played G minor, when we finally got to the G minor part, and he played this, and I'm like, yo, that's like D, G, and B flat, you know, because this is B flat, this is D, and this is G, and I'm just like, those are the same exact notes. Where else is, you know, is that like on on my fretboard? And I started kind of figuring these out, and then that like one thing led to another. I'm just like, okay, well, like that means they're like whatever the A string touches is that minor chord there. And then I did it for major chords. I'm like, that's amazing. And like, and the thing is and that's what makes Mark really, you know, really good. I give him all the credit for you know, for kind of knowing this stuff like without having the music theory background, you know. So after like kind of seeing it, my little shotgun eye just like started spinning. I'm like, I need that, you know, for me. And then like, and I took that ability, and I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm like, now I can do it too, you know, like, and but then I elaborated on it. Exactly. I elaborated on it because he's just like, okay, well, this is whatever. Like, I know these are the notes, but I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to do that with every note that I have, and apply, like, I know these notes are okay in these scales, for example. So because I would play Europa and I'd play like the notes up here. Once again, never played the chords, but if I have the chords, and so when I started doing that solo, so I don't think even Aaron knows this, but my little like homage to that Mark thing, and how like this, like the story of you know, of how I learned to do inversions when he's doing, so that is a Mark thing. So this right here, I'm gonna do like a D minor scale. Like it's like a D, well, not a D minor. It's like an F scale in that, over that D minor. But that's my thing, you know, like, cause that was just kind of just like an homage to like, here's Mark's thing, but here's me like adding on top of that from what I learned from Mark. And then like Europa, that's why I love playing Europa, because it is just a culmination of all the things that I've learned throughout the years. And then the next solo after that I play is something that I learned from Jake, which like he takes the Mark thing that he was, you know, because when we were cutting heads, I was cutting heads with Jake, and then I bust out the Mark thing, and he's just like, okay, cool, we're taking it to a strumming thing, then that's what we're doing, you know. And this like little like improv battle thing that I was having with Jake, he's like, okay, Aldrine took it there, he took it to a you know, like a chord thing, and then he started playing these like weird crazy jazz chords. Let me tune this up real quick. Just so that it sounds fine when I play that. Okay, so right, that's like So after I played this part, Jake did. And like, good thing I used to like videotape everything because you know my shotgun eye just wasn't working that fast and that crazy top speed that Jake does. So I watched it and I broke it down. I'm like, what the heck just happened? Because like I thought, I'm like, oh, this is something that Jake's not gonna have an answer for, right? This is something that I've
But
been
he
doing
did
since
it
high school
in real time.
Yeah, and like he did it in real time. It's like, my God, like, okay, all right, now time for me to learn something new, you know? So I broke it down. He played that F major 7, you know, over that. He does a. So he did this like G minor to G minor 7 to this crazy. I don't like to this day. I don't know why, you know, like why that works there. But he did like this kind of C minor with an F, like, so it'd be kind of this, so like C minor, right? But then with the F.
What's the original chord it's supposed to be that you're playing over?
Oh no, that makes sense because it's a G minor 7. So because there's the B flat, there's the F, there's the G. So just like this is G. There's a B flat, and there's the F. You know, so in a G minor 7. So. But then you just have this C. That the C is what makes it like. So it's kind of like a G minor 7, but then with that, you know, with the C on top, so it goes up. And then he did this weird like 9 chord, and just like, what is going on? And then he hit this like F major 7, and I'm just like, that is like, how are you doing that in real time? And I remember like every loss that I took, because I challenged everybody. I was that young whippersnapper and I think I've talked about this before, but I challenged everyone. Like every ukulele player that I came across, I would just be like, I need to learn something, you know? Because if I win, then I win. If I lose, then I will also win. Because like I'll learn something and I'll take it and I'll get better the next time, you know, the next time I challenge someone else, I'm gonna take whatever I learned from my last loss and I'm gonna apply it and whatever. So I've just like been training in like the battlegrounds of like cutting heads while improvising. So that's, you know, for me, how I learned like through Mark, how to do like inversions and stuff, and that was the aha moment. It was like through Mark and just kind of like figuring out how to play, you know, like notes like up here, and then how that evolved to what I do now.
I think like that. Or going back to Yvette's question, and then like in the forum, me and Genevieve answered Yvette on like how she can learn inversions and everything. But it really is like I think the reason why we learn these things and then we get better at it or get proficient at it is because we get excited, right? And we learn like a chord, and you're like, I'm gonna play that chord for every song that has a C chord in it. Or it's like,
heck yeah, man.
I'm sure like with the Jake thing, right? Like after you did that, you're like, what other songs can I apply this to? Or what can I do it to? And you just try it. So like if you're learning inversions, learn just the inversion for one chord. And then just look through all your list of songs, you know, and just be like, I'm going to play that chord in every single song that has this same chord that I knew before. Right?
Yeah, and see what works. Like, you know, sometimes it doesn't fit within that context of like a specific song, but other songs, it might work better. So
yeah, and we were talking about like that door will open, right? Probably where it's like, oh, it makes so much sense why people are playing this inversion in this song. I've seen people play this inversion in this song, and I've never understood it. I just played like the easier chord to hold. But now that I do know it and I can play like other chords around it, you'll probably be like, oh, it makes moving or it makes transitioning or things are more efficient. So it's just like when you try it, I think that's the aha moment. It opens up more doors for you.
Yeah.
So like, even thinking about that, right? So like prior to that, Jake had practiced like switching between the inversions of G minor 7 like enough times where he could do it on like single beats, right?
Yeah.
Right, on the fly in the context of a solo.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, what? And like, and not even like just inversions, like substitutions, like
Yeah,
and, like
he was
in like
substi-
that, you know, like
on the fly. And
because
what around what year was this? Like 2004 or 5 or something?
yeah, that was 2000. That's gotta be 3. That's on video. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if it's
So this is
still up
even
on my
before he
Ukulele
like
Oversoul channel.
yeah, this was even before he was like really touring the world.
Yeah.
He
Yeah, this is so he's been an insane. And the thing is, like, when I watch Jake like play live and stuff, like, don't get me wrong, he's amazing. He's like the best player in the world, right? So, but when I watch him, I'm like, and I'm there in the audience, and I'm just like, does everyone know like that he's actually like 100 times better than this? But he's just like, this is just for show. But this guy is like so good that like for people to like, okay, cool, yeah, I get it, like for his shows he has to play these songs that kind of showcase the ukulele, and for people to kind of groove to, like, he's playing music, he's playing music
Yeah.
that like that people can enjoy, but like the level of musicianship is actually way higher, like
Oh, yeah.
of that he's capable of. The musicianship that he's capable of, way higher than like what he's doing on stage. And yeah, it's from taking it from somebody who experienced it firsthand, like on stage. Just like, and it's one of those, you don't really you get to know somebody musically on that, like, at that level only through like cutting heads. And it's like I saw a glimpse of like the monster within, just like that. There is like a demon in that guy. Like, it's insane,
Yeah.
So it's that, like, you just never know what a person's capable of until, like, you really push him, like.
If we're going back to Naruto, right? It's like, this is during the exam when Rock Lee still has his weights on, and everybody sees Jake and they're like, "Oh, I guess he's pretty good. He's like physically strong. He's okay, right?" And then when Rock Lee drops his weights, they're like, "Wait a minute, you mean you weren't going 100% this whole time?"
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think it's more like Gaara. If we're going Naruto, it's more like Gaara.
okay,
We're like, he was already scary. He was like a scary guy, But then like whoa, that guy's like a Jinchuriki inside, like, where like he's even more scary than people think he is. Like it's that where like I've seen like the like the tailed beast inside of Jake, and I'm just like, that is scary. That the guy on stage, yes, he's very, very crazy, scary good, but it's the guy inside
He's
that
being
guy
held back at this point.
Yeah.
just
It's the guy inside that guy, because he has to play those favorites, like, and those favorites are great, and they're musically very, very, very hard, but he shines as far as what he's musically like really capable of, like during like an improvised like duel or solo.
Yeah.
'Cause he'll show you why he's the best.
yeah. Well, it's like okay, so it's like for everybody who's like a fan of Jake, just imagine his live show or all the songs he plays, and think like that's not even the expanse
It's
of
like the tip of
his-
the iceberg.
yeah, there's more to it. And then if knowing that, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy is crazy.
So for example, like I'll give a little hint, just because he leaves like breadcrumbs, like on some of the songs that he does. So when you listen to the album version of Shirley T, for example, okay, he'll do that. Like that's the line, yeah. But live, I'm guessing he's just like, it's just like, it's just not challenging enough, or like not like musically stimulating enough for a guy of his caliber. So he'll do like a, and you're just like, why that? And only he can answer that. Like, okay, well, it's this because I had this, and this, and just like, you're not ready for like that, like Goodwill Hunting level of math, like music math. That's gonna come out of that ukulele, or gonna come out of that man's mouth.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, like, okay, well, why that? Like, that is just the weirdest thing. F sharp's not even like in that key. Like, why the sharp 11 there? I don't get it. Like, why does but Jake does. and none of us understand it.
Yeah. I imagine, like, we're talking about him using those chords substitutions in Europa. It
Yeah,
probably is like he used it elsewhere, and then it's just like, oh, okay, I guess now's the time to try this out at least, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
just to bust that out in improv, yeah, has to have a certain level of proficiency
yeah,
or being comfortable with that, because like you can play those chords, and then if you're not confident enough, it can not end up not sounding that great. But it's
yeah.
like being able to be like, I guess I'll play it here, and then it's like, this is what are you doing for it to be mind blowing, right? So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm fortunate enough to like to know like some of the best players in the world, and like and have seen like and have cut heads with them. So I've cut heads with Calais, a bunch, and yeah, I know the monster inside inside that guy, because
Yeah.
like he'll only it's crazy. It's almost like he gives me like like a chance, or for people who play golf, like he'll play with a handicap. Like he'll only let out as much as my level allows me like allows me to do. He's not gonna go beyond of what I'm capable of. Like to make me look good, I guess, Calais will be like, okay, cool. Well, I know Aldrine can do this and this. If Aldrine will play something like, something a little bit more, then I'm gonna go to that, to that level. I remember um we were over at the LA Uke Fest, for example, like this latest one that we played.
Yeah.
It
I
was
was
me, it
just
was
gonna bring
Boris,
this
it was
up.
Calais, right? It was me, Calais, Boris, and I'm like, I'm like, I'm inebriated. We're having fun. It's like it's the after party, so I had I had something to drink. I'm just relax, playing, just jamming it up and stuff, and Calais jamming it up, and it's like, oh yeah, these two guys seem like they're about of equal level, like kind of jamming with each other and stuff. And Boris comes in, same thing. And then like Feng Yi comes in, and
Yeah,
I
he
wanted
flew
to
in that day.
enjoy
That's
Feng Yi,
why.
so I stopped playing. Yeah, so I stopped playing, and I'm just like, dude, I'm just gonna watch Feng Yi. But then the other three guys kept playing, and then you can see, because Feng Yi came in, and his level is yay higher than Aldrin Guerrero is. So you see like Boris and Calais Gamiel's level also go high, because they have to match this like Feng Yi high level of musicianship. And I'm just there. I'm just like, I mean, I could probably hang with these guys, but I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like
It's
it'll
too
be
much
more
thinking.
stressful for me to try to hang with these guys, and I kind of just want to enjoy myself. So Boris is like, you sure you don't want to, or like Calais, both Calais and Boris are like, you sure you don't want to? I'm like, dude, it would just more stress me out than like I could probably like hang in there, but I would be hanging on for dear life. I just want to enjoy myself now. So I just let the three guys just jam this like crazy high level, like kinds of like cutting heads and jamming. And I'm just like, this is insane, like just to be I'm glad to be a fly on the wall, like for this for this moment, and just kind of absorbing all this stuff in. And yes, if you ask, like, did you learn anything from that? Oh hell yeah! I mean, like I was using my my eye, like for all the moments that happened, and definitely learned a lot of stuff while they were playing. But yeah, I got to jam with those guys. Same Corey, like I know, like, and Abe, like
yeah.
the monsters that these guys really are, like musically inside. But like what you guys see, like in the performances and like in the like Hawaii Music Supply kind of videos and stuff, it just scratches the surface of like what these guys are really like capable of. But I guess, like, like not to diminish what I can do, but it's like what I do. Even just like what I do on Aloha Friday Live Jam, people will be like, okay, well, Adrine's like that good, and then they see us like playing live, they're like, okay, well, that's a lot different from like the Aloha Friday
Yeah.
Jam Aldrine, like the performances, and then there's like cutting heads Aldrine also, which is
Yeah.
like another level above that. So it's insane, like of what actual level like these guys are, like that a lot of people are like not aware of, and I'm lucky enough to like experience firsthand from just being in the pit, like with with these dudes.
Yeah. With Feng,
Fortunate.
especially that's what.
Hashtag blessed.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I came away with,
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like Feng is technically good. He's a great
yeah,
entertainer, and what he does on stage is just a tiny fraction of what he's capable
Yes,
of.
yeah.
Because when we
And-
were hanging out in that backyard and he was like
Yeah.
pulling out things just on the fly and you could tell, and he had like the
Yeah.
jam etiquette as well.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
wow, this kid is like leagues better than he even lets on.
Yeah,
and,
yes,
you know,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Cause like you can jam or cut heads with somebody, and if you do, you can tell when you're like struggling to keep up with them, right? And you're just
Yeah.
doing your best to
I
be
know.
like, oh, come on, please just get through this song. But I noticed with these people and watching them cut heads too, like even when it was Clay, you, and Abe at the retreat, right?
Yeah.
Afterwards, you and Clay were like turned to Abe and were like, "What was that? What did you do?" And Abe, him explaining it, it was like, "Oh, it's no big deal. It's like not anything, and it's just play." And so that's the thing about these guys is like, they're not like bringing out all the stops to like impress people or to like do something like, hey, check this out, this is gonna be the coolest thing ever. Right? They're like, I want to play in this moment. This might be like the highest level that people are hearing of playing, but to me it really is like, this is my chance to go on the swing set or whatever. This is my playground, right? And just like let loose. So to them it's like not stressful, but like if you're somebody else who's not at that level, you're like, I'm dying to keep up, right? But they're like, nah, whatever, like we'll just do whatever and we'll just try and we can do it. It's like, oh, that's crazy.
It's insane, the kind of level that, like, you know, that you'll see when improvising, just because like that's like, okay, here's a blank sheet of you know of paper, just draw a dog or draw an animal or whatever, and then you're like, okay, cool, you know.
But it also is
like
that
the most spectacular dog you've ever seen.
it's sort of that too, right? Because like in the cutting head situation, you're not performing for an audience, you're performing for the other player.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's
that's true.
almost like how magicians fooling magicians, right?
Yes,
it's
yes,
like,
yes.
right?
Exactly
like you're playing in order to make them smile, make them laugh, or like, you know. And so it's almost like, because you have someone who can appreciate that level, then that's when it comes out. Because even in that backyard situation, is like half the people that were not playing or they're like couldn't appreciate the level at which was like being expressed at that moment. And so like, if you did that in front of a large audience, like it sort of would have been like lost on the audience.
That's true because like the there were other people there, it wasn't just like us and stuff.
It wasn't
like,
just
but
like
I think
players.
of all the people there, I think you were the only one other person that that kind of understood what the, you know, what
was
the four
going
of us
on.
were doing. What was going on. And you were just kind of like, does anyone else not like realize what's happening right here?
Exactly.
Because there were musicians, but I think it does take a certain kind of level to appreciate.
You need
know,
to
that level
understand
of
a
music.
certain at least appreciate and understand like sort of what is going on. It's kind of like if somebody is doing like high level physics, most of us don't like, oh wow,
I guess so.
they're writing numbers and symbols on the chalkboard. Like, other physicists are like, where did you even think of this? Like, you know, how did you come up with this?
Because even that, right, is like people can read the theories of physics in a book, but then when somebody comes up with something, it's like they're not gonna like be able to see it and be like, oh my gosh, you just came up with something amazing. They'll be like, I guess I gotta go back to my notebook and like kind of look through it, and maybe I'll glimpse like that genius in there somewhere. But I think it's like playing with other people. If you play with like being in that position of playing with other people who are better than you, is like, that's when you can really get an appreciation of like, oh my gosh, this is, and even, you know, it's not a great feeling to feel like I am burning out, like I'm not keeping up with whoever I'm playing with. But at the same time, it gives you that eye-opening moment of like, oh my gosh, you mean like this is what other people can do? It's this is insane. Yeah,
it's been fun. It's like music is fun. Music is
that's why it's
so
a
fun.
journey, right? You get to meet all these people, you get to experience so many things.
It's
It definitely is. Yeah.
yeah, I don't. It's addictive to me where it's like I don't understand how people go like I'm okay with just being at this level. Is like because when you like experience something like that, you're just always like I am itching to get back to doing that again or trying it out or
Yeah.
like we were saying, trying you do a technique you learned in a song or something, right? And it's just like every song I want to apply this technique as much as I can, right? And it's just like I don't know, scratching that itch of like learning something new and applying it and trying to get better. It becomes like really fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Sorry, that wasn't even like a question. I was like, I gotta share this. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if we're talking about that moment where like Jake just destroyed me with these like weird jazz chords out of nowhere, like
Yeah.
I was maybe like 19 at the time. I'm like, dude, take it easy, Jake. Dude, take it.
That was him like patting you on the head, like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice,
that's
kid."
cute.
Yeah.
That was cute. No, but that was a big, that's what I wanted, and that's how I got that much better. So like for me, Europa is like means so much because it's like an homage to a lot of like my teachers and like people who've given me like kind of advice and mentored me like with ukulele. It's definitely like a hats off to Mark, and hats off to like to Jake and yeah, so cool.
That's crazy that it's like Mark and Mark doesn't even, like he's a drummer now. He's mostly known as like a drummer. So
But and that's why I want to keep it kind of want to keep it going because like I don't want to forget that. That's
yeah.
I'm grateful forever like for for his like his wisdom and like what he's kind of like granted to me like I'm here where I am now because of like the knowledge that Mark bestowed upon me.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, that Mark was just like doing those things without knowing the music theory. And even I liked when you were like explaining the chords for what that Jake plays, right? You were like, I don't know why he does this. And then it's only like now that you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And
Yeah.
that's like so telling of music, though, where it's like, just do it. You can learn the why later, but you can have fun and you can do cool
Yeah.
stuff now. Just do whatever. Like if you see anybody, be like Aldrine, right? Where it's like use the copy no jutsu and just copy every single person you can and just try and extract as much information as you can. I think that's a fun way to do it.
Yeah. But I think that's also like what made me like what turned me into a pretty decent ukulele teacher is because I've seen and I've like copied and I've like studied so much different like styles and techniques and like and music like ukulele music that I'm able to kind of replicate it and like and explain it back to like to other people. And I think that's like where my teaching comes from. I mean, yes, like I have a teaching background prior to that, but then you also have to know your stuff, like you can be a teacher, but it also helps to kind of know like, and since I've been in the trenches, like I know how to explain like what those guys are doing and I can break down what those guys are, the techniques that they're doing, the note choices that they're making, the direction, like what's in their head possibly, like and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Aaron like kind of made a good analogy. It's like you learn to speak, right? And like if you're learning a language or your first language, you probably know how to speak already by the time you go to school, and then you learn like reading and writing and everything else. But in the same way, it's like if you think of music as a language, is like, do you want to learn from somebody who it's like they can kind of speak, you've heard them speak to other people, but they're okay? Or do you want somebody who like can have fluent conversations with other people, right? And if you see that, then it's like, okay, that person actually knows, not only knows the ideas behind the language, but they know how to apply it too, and they're actually using it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Any last minute questions or anybody?
Yeah.
Sorry for boring you guys like with my tales of like my war stories.
We actually had a question like before our podcast even began. I'm sorry I couldn't find it again, but somebody was asking. They said that they got a Roland Cube, and that they're kind of overwhelmed with all the settings. So they kind of asked like, do you set your ukulele to be like flat and just like normal, and then change the settings on the amp, or like what would you do in that case?
Well, if it's new, because like every single amp, every single kind of like mixer or whatever that you plug your ukulele into has its like kind of built-in settings while flat. So you want to figure out where that is first. Like just the natural sound of like of that specific amp. What natural, in the sense of like everything being flat. When we say flat, meaning there's no boosts, no cuts to any of the frequencies. It's just letting the amp just do what it does. And this would be if you set all the settings, the lows, the mids, the highs, the mid lows, whatever like kind of EQ that you have. If you set it all to like to zero or just at like 12 o'clock. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
assuming 12 o'clock is the
Yeah. 12.
is the yeah. So anyway, um you want to set it to that and listen to like what the amp sounds like, and then you contour like your ukulele or whatever instrument that you're plugging it into the kind of sound that you want. So if you're just like, oh, okay, you put it all flat at 12 o'clock, then you play your ukulele, you're like, there's a lot of low end like coming from that. You can do one of either two things. You can either give yourself more high end, or you can cut the low end. It just depends on what direction you want to go. So if you're like, I like, I think it's too much low end, but I don't want it to go away, kind of thing. I like the amount of low end, but I just think, but with this current balance, I think it's too much. So then you add more like top end or more of a high hertz to your, to your ukulele. But you're like, that is just way too thumpy and way too loud. That's when you want to cut the low end so that the other, the other frequencies can kind of shine. Um, then that's just for like for EQ, and then there's like there's gain, there's volume, there's also like little effects that you can add on and stuff. So that's all personal preferences, really. Like I think if your ukulele is if you have a passive pickup on your ukulele, for example, you want to start out with like giving it a lot of gain, because with the passive instrument doesn't really necessarily have a lot of gain in it, and then go with the volume. um but with me, like I have an active pickup on mine, so I tend to go only a little bit on the gain and then more so on the volume, because I already have enough power kind of going from the instrument to the amp, so my gain is not as high. Um, but as far as effects goes, it's just reverb. I don't really like to put anything else on my ukulele. And once again, it's like personal preference. Mine, it's just I like playing the style of really like an acoustic style, like heavy acoustic, but still like acoustic. I don't put too much like distortion or delays or anything like that. Like whatever else, like chorus flangers, whatever else people put on their ukuleles nowadays. But that's it. A lot of it is personal preference. So you will EQ that rolling cube however you feel like your ukulele should sound. And then if you want to like, whatever your ukulele sounds naturally, that's usually what kind of sound I go for. I just try to replicate the acoustic sound, because that's my style, of my ukulele, and EQ the like the amp or the mixer to whatever would kind of best represent the natural sound of my instrument. And if I'm and then you add into like, okay, well, I like that. I like how my ukulele sounds, but I wish it was more bright. And then you can do that, with the amp, or you can do that with the mixer. So you can adjust it as you see fit. But that's how it becomes less intimidating, where it's just like, just try to set it so that it sounds like your natural ukulele.
Yeah. You said like cut the low end, but if they don't know, like that might mean that on amps it's usually like you have a bass, mid, and treble knob.
Yeah,
So you
that's
turn
true.
down
Yeah,
the bass knob. That's
Yeah.
what low end is, and then high end is treble, and then
yeah.
mid is like you can
Yeah,
guess. Yeah,
because sometimes it says low, mid, high,
yeah,
like so it's
Yeah.
low, mid, high, or
different
bass,
terminology.
like treble or whatever. Yeah, it's just different terminologies, but
Bass,
a
middle,
lot of time
treble.
in mixers, yeah. So bass, middle, treble, is low, mid, high. That's really all it is. So if you got a boomy bass and it's too boomy, then you cut the boom, which is cutting the lows, or cutting the bass. But if you're like, it's a bit boomy, but I feel like if I, make the highs and the mids go up a little bit, it'll balance itself out. And the ukulele is not naturally that boomy anyway. So I want it to be more boomy in in the amp. So just turn up the highs and just try to balance out so that it booms nicely.
Yeah.
There's a nice boom, and there's a bad, loud, ear-piercing boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, usually for ukuleles, it's kind of like maybe too much treble, right? When you usually plug it in.
Yeah, yeah. So you want to cut. Yeah. So for me, and it depends on the ukulele also, of
Hmm.
course, but for me, I tend to cut the like the high end and try to bring up the low end so that I get a nice like darker sounding ukulele and less bright. That's kind of my thing because my style of playing is already naturally bright. Like I tend to hit my strings a lot harder than normal people. I tend to be, like I tend to dig in. So if I'm doing that and it's like, it's bright, then it'll be too bright. So I do tend to give myself a mid and low boost and cut the highs so that it sounds like, you know, I guess for normal people it sounds kind of muddy, but the way that I play and the way that my nails and hit it, it sounds like, like just a fat ukulele, like a fat sound.
Yeah. I think and when people get stuff like this, they kind of are afraid to like push the settings or do anything. But that's kind of what you do is like you sit there and you might just like you crank the knob, you go higher and higher and higher, and then like you're
Yeah.
playing while you're doing that and just kind of listening like does it sound bad to me at this point? And kind of when it reaches that point, you can be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I should back off then. Or if it already, you can turn it with the EQ, you can turn it the other way and like cut everything and be like, does it sound worse to me when I cut everything or when I take out this stuff? Or
Yeah.
like, what is it? And
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I was gonna say, like, commenting on that, one of the things that I do now is try to figure out if there is like a thump or a boom going on that I don't like. So what I would do is I would there in my EQ there is like there's the low, but then it has the frequency that is adjacent to like to that low knob, so you can figure out like what the frequency is that you're trying to either bring up or cut down, so which is really cool. So I would um I would turn it all the way up and figure out, and then turn the frequency knob to see like if it makes that boom a lot, like a lot worse. So like I'll try to figure out where that frequency is. Once I find it, then I keep the frequency setting there. I remember where that is, and then I cut that. Then I turn it down so that I cut the boom, which is a new way of kind of approaching it. That's how I've been EQing my ukulele recently, rather than just like going off with low, mid, high. But it's a little bit more advanced, just because
Mm-hmm.
you want to figure out the exact frequencies that you don't like, and then like upping the frequencies that you do.
Yeah, it's like
Seems
you're
good.
exaggerating you're making it loud, right? So it's like it's
Yeah,
obvious to
yeah.
you, and then kind of doing like a frequency sweep through it while
Yes,
I'm
yes,
guessing
yes.
like while you're playing too, like just to like hear like
Yeah.
okay, I'm
Yeah.
listening, yeah,
So I'll kind of go like this. I'll just strum it and then like turn the frequency to figure out like what frequency it's doing that thump at. And then once I find it, you're like, okay, cool, there. Now I'm gonna cut that. So that's where it's at, like in the knob, and then I'm gonna turn that down. So it's not necessarily like I'm turning down the lows. I'm just turning down that specific frequency of lows.
yeah. Because instead of like what you're doing is like making a bump of a frequency, like a big
Yeah.
hill, and then you just make
Yeah.
a notch instead, right,
Yeah.
where it cuts it out,
Yep.
right? But it's like yeah, for that kind of stuff, it's like, or for an amp, I don't know if you would have that necessarily, but it's kind of the same thing where it's like you'll turn the knob, you strum, hear it, and then if you get like a setting that you like or you think you like, then actually try and play a song through it and then see
Yeah.
like, oh, do I still like the song when I play the song through
Yeah.
it? And if you don't, then you can make more adjustments, but if you do, then it's like, okay, then move on to the next setting or try some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
For
the
people
for
who are
the
interested.
oh no,
Oh,
good.
I was gonna say it's I'm using an LR Bags venue, and that's the one that has like the frequency like sweeper thing
Yeah.
on it. So
And then
what were you gonna say?
for his because he said that he has a Roland Cube. So that's
Yeah,
it's probably you would just start off with like there's a equalizer with the three knobs, bass, middle, treble. So just
yeah,
start with those at 12 and then make sure
yeah.
that the effects and everything else is off,
Off, off,
and then
turn it
just try to
off.
dial that in, your bass, middle, and
Yeah,
treble. And then if anything for just ukulele, maybe just play with a little bit of reverb, but the
reverb.
rest of it you don't even have to touch, like unless you
Yeah,
really want to play with effects.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and
So I'm
you can try it. Like it doesn't hurt to see what
Yeah.
it'll sound like, but generally, like most ukulele players don't really use those types of effects or like don't over exaggerate with those
Yeah,
effects.
seems like a lot of
right.
the ones that come on the cube are mostly for like electric guitar. So yeah, you probably wouldn't be playing with
Yeah,
those too much.
just think about it this way, like the more effects you add to any kind of instrument, the further away it is from sounding like that instrument,
Yeah,
further,
acoustically.
yeah, acoustically.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to think about. So if you're just like, okay, well, like I want to rock out with this thing, and you're just like, okay, well, then you gotta go like walk as far away from it acoustically as possible. But if you like how your ukulele sounds like acoustically, well, like myself, so I tend to add like the least amount of effects on it because I want it to sound like I'm just jamming. Yeah. So it
Yeah,
just depends on what you're going for.
yeah, and I think
But yeah,
people.
that's the hard rule. It's like the more you add, the less it sounds like it.
Yeah, I think people might be asking, might want to know like to exactly what is your settings that you would do for this or whatever. But even
It's
for
different
you,
for yeah, it's different.
yeah, even for you, like going from a different uke to uke, right? Like even your ukes, you would change it or adjust it like a little bit uke to
Yes.
uke. So
Yeah, my like my spruce ukulele that you guys see a lot are is pretty hot on the highs, so like I gotta turn that down. And the core ukulele, not this one, but the other one that I've been playing lately, that also has a lot of lows in it, so I gotta add highs in there to make sure that it's nice and balanced. But I'm still trying to achieve the same goal, but then I just have to go about it differently between each ukulele.
yep,
So you can't even ask for my settings because it's like specific for the ukuleles that I play.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
We do have some
That's a
questions,
lot of.
but maybe we'll save it
Yeah.
for next week. Yeah. So
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Anything that I can answer quick?
I guess Doug said, have you noticed the price of ukuleles have gone up?
But that's with everything else, man. Yeah, I have
All
noticed that,
things.
but that's all things, dude. It's
And
just like what?
also in general, like the price of like entry level ukuleles has gone down.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's both, right? It's like
Yeah.
goes up and then the to get into ukulele has gone way down where it's a
Yeah.
lot easier. A lot.
Yeah, that, and you don't really want to have that conversation. We're not like economists or anything like that, but like the economy is in a weird place right now. Let's just say that it's like it is in a weird place. So of course things are gonna go up, and I know it's not just our economy, but just I think the world in general. Like things are getting more and more expensive. So
Yeah.
expect like higher prices for stuff because that means the people who are selling these things also like their groceries also go up. So they have to make more money and they have to put that onto the to the products that they sell in
Yeah.
order to make up that deficit.
I think
It's yeah, it's just
yeah. I think kind of like
economics.
we were talking about the other week though, like don't let the increased price in ukuleles get you down. If you're like, "Oh man, I really want this ukulele, but it's out of my price range now." It's like there's secondhand markets or there's other
Yeah,
alternatives and you can
yeah,
really probably find something that's close to it or something that will make you satisfied for something
yeah.
in your budget, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
check out the last episode. The last episode, I feel like we talked about that.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Yeah, we'll just save the rest for next week then.
Sounds good. All right, gentlemen. For all of you folks who want to check out how to play the ukulele, check out ukuleleunderground.com. Ukuleleunderground.com is where you learn how to play the ukulele. We got lessons. We got like a marketplace. We got a forum. We got private lessons that are opened up now for February. I apologize about that. We have tons of stuff. We have merch. You can check it out over at ukuleleunderground.com. And if you want to access our store, shop.ukuleleunderground.com. We sell ukuleles there. We sell lessons as well, like standalone. We have merch. Yeah, we have ukuleles. And you can always sign up for UU Plus to take your ukulele playing to the next level. UU Plus is the best way to learn how to play the ukulele through premium lessons over at UU Plus. Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great one. Enjoy your week. Happy February, everybody.
Oh, Thursday open mic.
Yes, Thursday.
Thursday open mic, and then also there's a new play along that just came out. Here's a lay, right?
Ooh, yeah. Here's a lay. Here's a lay. Here's a lay. So make sure you check that out. Also, Thursday, my 9-year anniversary of my wife. So I'm gonna have to tell my wife that I have to work that day. So February 6th. So I'll see you guys next time. Have a great one. Aloha, everybody.